Hello learners, good day and welcome to this exciting section as we dive into 2021 Jamb Biology past questions and answers. Thank you for staying with us throughout this process. But before we get started, I want to let you know that this video is proudly brought to you by Kstudy Learning, your ultimate partner in your educational success. And guess what? We've also introduced our online mobile application known as the Kstudy Exams, available for free in both your Play Store and your App Store. So head to your Play Store or your App Store right now, search for the Kstudy Exam and download this application into your phone to ace your learning process, as it contains resources to boosting your learning pursuit. And this video you're watching right now is just the first part of the video. So other videos that covers the Jamb curriculum and help to ace your learning process are also found in this application. So why not take the opportunity right now, download this application to your phone to access and harness several resources to aid your learning pursuits before the Jamb season. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel to get more of these exciting videos to boosting your Jamb pursuits. Like our page and also subscribe to our channel, and make sure you share this video with your friends and families. So let's dive into our learning properly. Question 1 says, one of the functions of the xylem is A. Strengthening the stem, B. Manufacturing food, C. Reducing loss of water, D. Conducting manufactured food. The right answer to question 1 is A, because the xylem in plants provides a structural support for plants and help them to strengthen their stems. Question 2 says, which of the statements below is not the characteristics of wind-pollinated flower? A. Stigmas are usually large and feathery. B. Nectar is usually absent. C. The pollen grains have rough spiny surfaces. And D. The flower are not scented. The right answer to question 2 is C. The pollen grains have rough spiny surfaces. So this is not true about wind-pollinated flowers. Question 3 says, one of the features of an animal are scales, teeth, nails, and backbone. The animal is likely A. a toad, B. a bird, C. a lizard, and D. a rat. So the right answer to question 3 is C. a lizard. A lizard possesses scales to help it conserve water. Being a reptile, it has backbone as a vertebrate, and it also has teeth for breaking its prey into smaller parts for consumption process. So question 3 has C as the right answer. Question 4. Question 4 says, choose the sequence which represent the correct order of organism in a food chain. So what sequence represents the correct order of organism in the food chain? A. Grass, snake, toad, grasshopper, and hawk. B. The grass, the grasshopper, the toad, the snake, and the hawk. C. The grass, the grasshopper, the snake, the toad, and the hawk. D. The grass, the snake, the grasshopper, the toad, and the hawk. So the correct sequence of feeding in an ecosystem starts from the grass to the grasshopper, the toad, the snake, and the hawk, which is option B as the correct answer. So the green grass is able to manufacture its food via photosynthesis. Being an autotroph, autotrophs are organisms that are able to manufacture their food. Then the grasshopper feeds on the grass and uses it as a source of food. The toad feeds on the grasshopper as food, while the toad is further fed upon by the snake. This snake is then fed upon by the hawk. So the hawk feeds on the snake directly. That shows the energy level that flows in an ecosystem. Let's see question 5. Question 5 says, flatworms and roundworms are said to be invertebrates because A. They are small animals, B. They can live inside the vertebrates, C. Some of them are unicellular, and D. They have no backbone. So the right answer is D. They have no backbone. Flatworms and roundworms have no backbone because they are platyhelminthes. They are worms, and worms lack backbones. Let's see question 6. Question 6 says, when a spirogyra cell is immersed in a salt solution more concentrated than its cell sap, it A. remains unchanged, B. takes steep water and bursts, C. absorbs a little water, and D, it loses water and shrivel. The right answer is D, because when a spirogyra cell is immersed in a salt solution that is concentrated, it loses water and shrivel. Take note that spirogyra are freshwater organisms. So when they are introduced to saltwater environments, they become flaccid and they lose water as a result of the concentration of the salt solution present in the water. So the right answer is D. Let's see question 7. Question 7 says, which of the following is not regarded as a pollutant on land or in air? A. Smoke. B. Nitrogen. C. Noise. D. Sulfur dioxide. The right answer is B. Nitrogen. Nitrogen is not regarded as a pollutant neither in the air nor on land. Smoke is a pollutant to the air. The noise is also a pollutant. Sulfur dioxide are pollutants. So pollutants are substances that causes pollution. The right answer is B. Let's see question 8 this time. Question 8 says, the initial volume of water poured into a bag of dry soil was 50 ml and the amount that drained through was 35 ml. The percentage water content of the fully soaked soil is therefore, now this is basically a calculatory question. They said the initial volume is 50 ml while the amount that was drained is 35 ml. What is the percentage water content of the fully soaked soil? So we have to use the formula to find the percentage of the soil that was fully soaked. So the percentage of the soil, percentage of fully soaked soil is equal to water absorbed over soil weight times 100. So the initial volume of the water is equal to 50 minus 35, which is the amount that was gotten, divided by the soil weight, which is also 50, times 100. 50 minus 35 is 15. 15 divided by 50 times 100 will give us our right answer. So 15 divided by 35 is 0.15 times 100. So the right answer should be 30. Yes, the right answer to this question is 30, because 0.15 times 100 is 30. So we have 30% as the percentage water content of soaked soil. So 30% is the right answer, which is option D. Option D. Let's see question 9. Question 9 says, when the original king and queen of termites die, they are replaced by A. the king and the queen of another colony, B. some adults reproductive from same colony, C. some adult workers which are specially fed to breed, D. developing nymph nurtured as secondary reproductives. So the right answer to question 9 is D. When the king and queen die, they are replaced by developing nymphs that are specially bred as secondary reproductives. Question 10 says, in demonstrating the importance of mineral elements in plants, the culture bottle must be dash to A. prevent algal growth in culture solution, B. allow root growth, C. prevents breakdown of mineral elements, and D. prevents photosynthesis in roots. So when demonstrating the importance of mineral in plants, the culture bottle used must prevent algal growth. It must be dark to prevent algal growth in the culture solution. So it's always required or recommended that a dark container is basically used for this exercise, because when light is able to penetrate through a light container or a white container and a container that is transparent, it begins to breed algae, and this algae uses sunlight to photosynthesize and to produce food for themselves. So it takes a very, very little period of time. You see algae full your culture container, which is not what you want. So it's recommended for you to use a dark container for this process. Let's see question 11. Question 11 says, in the mammalian respiratory system, exchange of gas occurs in the A, the lungs, B, the bronchi, C, the bronchioles, and D, the alveoli. So the right answer is the alveoli. Question 10, the right answer is A, while question 11, our right answer is D. The alveoli, or the alveoli as pronounced, helps us to exchange gas. So it aids breathing. It helps to exchange gas between the gases between the lungs when you breathe in and breathe out. So let's see question 12. Question 12 says, aged erythrocytes are destroyed in the A, the pancreas, B, the liver, C, the lymph node, D, the kidney. Now, erythrocytes are red blood cells. So when they are no longer functioning, where are they always destroyed? They are always destroyed in the liver, which is option B. So option B, the liver serves as a point of destruction for old or dead red blood cells. Question 13 says, the villus in the small intestine is significant because it A, increases the surface area for absorption, B, increases the surface area for digestion, C, assists in mixing digested food, and D, assists in filtering undigested food. The right answer to question 13 is A, increases the surface area for absorption. The villi is basically an organ found inside the small intestine that aids the digestion process. So it basically absorbs nutrients from all the food you consume, and the remaining food is being sent to the rectum as fecal matter or feces. So the right option to question 13 is A. Question 14. Which of the following food substance will produce a brick red color when warmed with Benedict solution? A, glucose, B, starch, C, egg white, and D, maltose. When glucose is warmed in a Benedict solution, it always produces a brick red color. So the Benedict solution serves as a reagent for testing the presence of glucose in a particular substance. So glucose is the right answer, which is option A for question 14. Question 15 says, the blood vessel which carries blood from the alimentary canal to the liver is the A, hepatic artery, B, the hepatic vein, C, the hepatic portal vein, and D, the mesenteric artery. The right answer is C. That is question 15. We have C as our right answer. Let's see question 16. 16 says, which of the following is true of the process of conjugation in paramecium? A, micronucleus disintegrates. B, each X-conjugant divides only once. C, macronucleus undergo division. And D, each micronucleus divides twice. Now, the right answer is D. When paramecium wants to reproduce by fission, they come close to each other in a watery environment, and then after that process they go their separate ways, and then they break into smaller units. That is the fission, break into smaller units, which aids their reproductive cycle. Those smaller units are little part of the paramecium. So the right answer to question 16 is D. Question 17 says, people who suck petrol with their mouths run the risk of increasing in their blood the concentration of A, iron, B, lead, C, calcium, and D, magnesium. People who suck petrol with their mouths has the chances of increasing the amount of lead in their mouth. Lead is hazardous to the body, and it's a chemical or a chemical substance that is used in the production of petrol. It is included in the octane in gasoline to help a vehicle or to prevent a vehicle from knocking. So people that suck this particular substance into their mouth increases the toxicity of the substance to their body and affects the system of such individual. So the right answer to question 17 is B. Let's see question 18. Question 18 says, which of the following is a measure for the control of Babesia? Babesia is also known as schistosoma, found in freshwater snails. A, cutting low bushes around home. B. Application of molluscicides in water bodies. C. Screening windows and doors with mosquito nets. And D. Application of herbicides to water bodies. The right answer to question 18 is B. Application of molluscicide in water bodies. When you apply these chemicals, it hinders the growth and the reproduction and the existing of this particular substance within that environment. Question 19 says the appendicular skeleton is composed of the pectoral girdle. A. Pelvic girdle, forelimb and the hind limb. B. The pelvic girdle and the forelimb. C. The lumbar vertebrae and the pelvic girdle. D. The lumbar vertebrae, the fore and the hind limb. So the right answer to this question 19 is A. The pelvic girdle, the fore and the hind limb. Because the pectoral girdle are structures or skeletal structures that make up the shoulder region. Question 20 says a freshwater plant such as water lily can solve the problem of buoyancy by the possession of A. Parenchyma tissues, B. Dissected leaves, C. Thin cell walls of epidermis, and D. Water repelling epidermis. The right answer to this question is parenchyma tissues, which is option A to question 20A. So water lilies are hydrophilic plants or hydrophytes. They are plants that thrive on water bodies, and for them to solve buoyancy, they need to possess the parenchyma tissues. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next class.